Hey polish fans, it's Caroline again and welcome to another video here at Wild Wind Lacquer. In today's video I am finally sharing the Orly Spring Collection for 2024. I get this in the Orly Color Pass subscription box. So this did arrive to me probably a few weeks ago by now. I do have quite a few things juggling around on my channel, as you've probably seen. So I have the Organized series, I have the Estate series, which is kind of on the back burner at the moment, and then I'm also trying to catch up on my Orly Color Pass box swatches. And as you may notice down here, I have actually gathered a few colors to do some comparisons of and sort of see if I can dupe out the colors that came in the spring box. So for this season we have a collection called Aqua Aura, and it is for spring 2024. And as always, it comes with a little card that details a little bit about the collection as well as what the freebies were for that season. And for spring, we got a little set of spring nail stickers that are little shells, pearls, and mermaids, a little beach theme. And then we got a matte top coat from Orly. Before we get into the swatches, I should just note apologies about my voice again. I still am in the midst of being sick at the moment. I feel mostly fine. I can just definitely tell I hear it in my voice, so hopefully that isn't too distracting. The first polish that we're going to look at is a really beautiful green. This one is called Morning Dew, and I love the tone of this green. It's kind of this jade green, like a very light jade green, and what I really like is they've put a blue shimmer in this. It is very beautiful, right up my alley as far as a shade of green, and of course I am a huge fan of shimmer. So here's how this one looks in two coats with a glossy top coat. This one does have a little bit of sheerness to it, but not so much that I think a lot of people would need a third coat. But since this is a complementary shimmer and not a contrasting shimmer, it does sort of blend in with the green base as opposed to stand out from it. But I do think it looks really beautiful together. I like that combination a lot. And then the color that I pulled to do a comparison of comes from OPI, and this one is I'm Yacht Leaving. I think that might have been from a summer collection last year in 2023. And I thought the base color was pretty spot on. Obviously we're going to be dealing with some differences because due to the fact that the Orly has a shimmer in it, is going to be a bit of a thinner formula, whereas the OPI is a straight up cream. And here's how I'm Yacht Leaving compares to Morning Dew. And as you can see, color wise, I think they're pretty close. Although saturation wise, the OPI is definitely more saturated. It's just that straight up cream. You do get that bit of a glossy look, that shimmer component with that Orly. So they are different, but you could get similar vibes if you already have that OPI. So that first one from the spring collection was Morning Dew. Next up is a beautiful blue. This one is called Ripple Effect, and this is sort of a cornflower shade of blue. It's got the ever so slightest pinch of a purple lean to it. Now that could be because this does have a pink shimmer, and that does tend to play with the eyes and make you see colors like purple in that blue base. And here's how that one looks in two coats with a glossy top coat. Now for this one, I will say the shimmer is more contrasting in the bottle, but I don't see it on the nail. If I saw this on a nail, I would think it was just a straight up cream. Now it is a very lovely shade, but it's also not quite as cornflower blue once it's on the nail. It almost turns more of like a denim-y blue. So an interesting phenomenon. I do wish I could see that shimmer though, because I think that could look really nice against that base. Then the polish that I pulled for a possible dupe of this was another OPI, and this one is Can't Control Me. This one came out in the Halo collab that they had a couple of years ago, at least I think it was a couple of years ago. And this one was the closest that I could find. Now it is a couple shades lighter, and even though both do have a subtle shimmer to them, the Orly has that pink and the OPI has that light almost silver quality to it. Neither really come across super strongly on the nail, so let's see how they do compare. So on the top is Ripple Effect from Orly, and then on the bottom is the OPI that I pulled, Can't Control Me. And I think you can definitely tell here that Orly is a couple shades darker, but kind of similar. If you already had the OPI, again, you could sort of dupe the vibe if you wanted to play with this set of colors. So the second color in the collection was Ripple Effect. Now we're moving on to one of two shades of a pinky color. The first one is a cream, and this is Sea Blossom. And this is a very nice light shade of pink, sort of like a faded Pepto-Bismol almost. It's also a slightly purple leaning pink and a white leaning cream. And here's how it looks in two coats with a glossy top coat. I do really like how this one turns out. It is a nice, almost I would say chalky color, but in a good way. I really like how it ends up looking. This is a kind of pink that I have grown fond of, I would say, in the last 1.5 to 2 years. So I'm looking forward to trying this one. But let's go ahead and see the polish that I pulled to do a comparison of for Sea Blossom. And it is another Orly, a fairly new acquisition to my collection as well. This is Beautifully Bizarre. Now, these aren't as close as I wished I could get. Beautifully Bizarre is a couple shades lighter, and also when you have these side by side, I think you can see that purple tone that I was talking about in Sea Blossom. And of course, Beautifully Bizarre has that shimmer. So here is Sea Blossom at the top, Beautifully Bizarre there at the bottom. And like I said, they are different, but they were close enough that I did want to at least do a comparison. I thought that the base color might be a little bit closer once they were swatched, but this one actually ends up being kind of similar to the next polish we're going to take a look at. So that cream was Sea Blossom, and then the pink shimmer is called Wistful Water Lily, and this is a beautiful shimmer polish. This one has a squishier formula than that cream, of course, due to the fact that this one has a blue shimmer in it. And here's how this one looks in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. And this one is really beautiful. I like the soft, delicate nature of this. I like the fact that you can see the shimmer quite nicely in this one. It definitely shows up on the nail. Now for this one, I think you can kind of tell here, you can see my nail underneath it, so this one might be a 2 or 3 coater depending on your nail length and application. So again, we are going to be comparing that one to Beautifully Bizarre just to see how they compare. I think here you can tell tone-wise that the new one, which was Wistful Water Lily, is a bit more of a saturated pink, but they both have a similar shift in them. Although I would say in Wistful Water Lily, it leans a little bit more blue, whereas in Beautifully Bizarre, it's a little bit more of an aqua green. I also pulled a couple of pink creams to compare to. I think I was way off with this first one. This one is OPI's I Quit My Day Job, but it isn't even close, although I did swatch it, so we're going to take a look at it. The next one is a lighter cream from LA Colors, and this one is Girl Talk. So I did compare those as well, hoping to at least match the base color. So here first we're going to compare it to Beautifully Bizarre. I think of the 3 this is going to be the closest comparison, but as you can see it isn't as saturated a pink as Wistful Water Lily. And I would say also because of the difference in formulation, Beautifully Bizarre is a little bit more creamy. The shimmer definitely stands out more in Wistful Water Lily. You can see that blue glow nicely. And apologies about the swatch of Beautifully Bizarre. I had some fuzzy issues going on when I was doing that top coat, but I think that is the closest of the 3. But let's go ahead and see the creams that I did for comparison. This first one is the OPI, which was I Quit My Day Job, and obviously it's not even close. And then the lightest shade I do think is pretty close in base color, even though it is a bit brighter, and that is Girl Talk from LA Colors. So if you were to put a blue shimmer on top of Girl Talk, you might get a similar vibe going. So that second pink was Wistful Water Lily. Now we're moving on into another shimmer shade, this time in sort of a brown leaning copper, and this one is called Golden Waves. It kind of reminds me of Sunsets, which Golden Waves, maybe that's what they were going for, was sort of a sunset vibe, and it definitely gives me that. You have a bit of gold going on, you have some copper, a little bit of red pops up at certain angles. It's definitely a beautiful golden look without being a straight up gold. Here's how that one looks in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. This one had a really nice formula as well. They're doing a fantastic job with this type of a shimmer formula, where you can actually see the shimmer pop on the nail quite nicely. So when I was pulling colors for comparisons, one that I came across was another Orly, and this is Touch of Magic. I believe this one came out in a winter collection, I think maybe 2022/23. I could be mistaken on that. But look at the colors with this. They are pretty spot on, although obviously there is a particle size difference. The one in Golden Waves is a much finer milled smooth shimmer, whereas the one in Touch of Magic is a larger shimmer particle. So you're going to see almost micro flakes. You're going to see the texture. But they both have some similar shifts. You can see some of the gold down there. You can see some pink and red. So let's see how they compare. So there they are on the nail. Golden Waves on top, Touch of Magic on the bottom. So obviously the size of particles definitely affects how opaque they are. Even though both of these are 2 coats, Golden Waves is more opaque. So Touch of Magic could definitely be a topper. So that one was Golden Waves. And then the last one in the collection is a white, and this is Sea Spray. So this one is a pearl white with a golden, like warm golden to orange shimmer. Well, this one is very beautiful, not necessarily a color that I reach for to wear on its own very often, but it is beautiful in the bottle. And here's how it looks on its own. 2 coats and a glossy top coat. So for this one, it is more of a creamy formula, more similar to Ripple Effect over here. That was our blue. However, the blue definitely drowned out the shimmer that was in it. However, with this, maybe because it is such a light color, you can definitely see the shimmer, just not as prominently as you could if it was a slightly thinner formula. And then the color that I pulled for a comparison of this is another Orly, and this one is called Frosting. And this one is the closest I could find, but it isn't very similar. It is an off-white as opposed to a more stark white that Sea Spray was. And then it has a golden shimmer that is a slightly larger particle size, whereas the one in Sea Spray has more of that warm orange. But let's go ahead and see how they compare. So here's Sea Spray on top, Frosting on the bottom. I think they do give similar vibes, just not dead on dupes, mainly because of the shimmer component. You have much more of that sunset warm tone in the shimmer in Sea Spray, and a little bit more of just a straight up golden shimmer in Frosting. So that last polish in the spring collection from Orly was Sea Spray. So there we have it. That was the spring collection from Orly, Aqua Aura. Let me know which ones were your favorites down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me and looking at beautiful polish. If you're new, think about hitting that little subscribe button down below. That way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. And I will see you in that next one.